So often when we talk about retirement, we talk about the end result. And in this situation specifically, I am talking about having a mix of accounts as you go into retirement. So a Roth, a traditional, and yes, even a brokerage. You guys know I love a brokerage account. But what doesn't get talked about enough is how do we actually build this mix of accounts? And this matters because this is often where people get stuck. And if you look at retirees today, or soon to be retirees, many of them have the vast majority of their wealth sitting inside a traditional account. And that's simply because those were the accounts that were available at the time. The traditional 401k and account types like that were the default. Roth options came later. And that's exactly why today topics of Roth conversions are so popular, because we have so many people who have such a large portion of their wealth sitting in these traditional accounts and they've deferred taxes for a long time. And now they look at these balances and say, oh no, I'm going to have to pay taxes on this at some point. But nowadays, you can easily build a Roth, a traditional, and even a taxable brokerage simultaneously throughout your entire career. Hey guys, what's up? I'm Erin and welcome back to the channel. So today's workers really need to answer the question of when should I be building each of these account types? What I want to do in this video is walk you through exactly how this might play out over the course of an entire career. Let's take a hypothetical individual. They graduate at the age of 25. They start earning about $55,000 a year, which is very much in line with the typical starting salary today for a college graduate. And over time, they grow into a high income earner, peaking at around $190,000 a year. And what we're going to walk through is when they should be funding a Roth, when they should be funding a traditional, and potentially when they should be splitting between the two. And as an added bonus, I want to go through what their account balances might grow to by the time they reach retirement age, because I think there's something powerful about putting numbers to the theories. So first, let's establish what a career might look like, because income drives everything. Remember, this is someone on track to becoming a high income earner. So they start out at 25, making $55,000 a year. 10 years into their career at age 35, they're making $105,000 a year. Fast forward to age 45, they're getting close to their peak earning years. They're earning $170,000 at this point. By 50, they're making $190,000 a year. After the age of 50, they're starting to step back a little bit. They want a little bit of a slower pace of life. So we'll notice their income taper. By the time they hit 60, they might be making $140,000 a year. By the time they're 62, $110,000 a year. And then they retire at the age of 65. So now that we understand how their income evolves over time, now we can map out a strategy. Phase 1, let's go back to our 25-year-old. They've just graduated and they're earning $55,000 a year. And let's be honest, most people at this stage are not feeling rich. They're still figuring things out. Maybe they have some student loans, they're starting to grow within their career, they're building stability, they're building confidence. And even though they're at their lowest income that they'll ever face in their entire career, this is a very powerful window, because right now they're sitting in roughly the 12% tax bracket. Let's take a moment to mentally fast forward for a second. 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. All of a sudden, it looks like they're making $140,000, $170,000, $190,000 a year. Do you really think they're going to be in a lower tax bracket at that point? Probably not. And this is the key to all of this. When your tax rate is low, you want to pay taxes. When your tax rate is high, you want to avoid them. So in this early phase, the strategy is pretty simple. Prioritize the Roth. Put your contributions into a Roth 401k or a Roth IRA. You want to pay your taxes on this money today, get it in an account where it can grow completely tax-free. And I really want you to feel this for a moment, because it can be easy to look at the Roth and say, I'm paying taxes today. That feels painful. But what you're doing is locking in taxes at a rate of 12% or lower, and then never paying taxes on this money again. This is money that could easily grow for 20, 30, 40, or 50 years, potentially even more. You're giving this money an incredibly long runway, and that's what makes this so powerful. Even putting away modest amounts can grow to something very shocking over time. And this is likely the cheapest your tax rates will ever be. So you want to take advantage of it. Now let's move forward to phase 2. Our same investor is now in their mid-30s, 40s, and early 50s. Their income has grown to $105,000, $140,000, $170,000, all the way up to $190,000. This is really the phase of life where everything feels busy and full. Your career is demanding. Maybe there's a family. Your expenses are higher and your responsibilities are bigger. This is your peak earning window, and that comes with something important: your highest tax rates. You're no longer in the 12% bracket. Maybe you're now in the 24% bracket, or even higher if you're part of a married household and you have dual income earners. So now we start asking ourselves, how do we avoid paying taxes at the highest possible rates? And the answer is pretty simple. Now we want to switch to funding the traditional, at least directionally, because I want to add some nuance here. As income rises through this phase, there's often a window where the best strategy isn't purely Roth or purely traditional, but rather the answer could be both. Because at certain phases throughout your career, you could very well be sitting on the edge of a tax bracket. So now you might be paying attention to those tax brackets and asking, what tax rate am I paying on each additional dollar? Think of your income like stacking in layers. Some of your income is taxed at 22%. Some of it is taxed at 24%. So depending on where your income is sitting, you could contribute to the traditional to bring down your income, and then you could contribute to a Roth and pay taxes at more modest rates. You have the ability to be a bit creative here. For instance, let's say we have a single filer who is at a point where they're making $120,000 a year. That just puts you into the 24% bracket. You could contribute enough to your traditional to bring the remainder of your income back to the 22% bracket. Then if you want to contribute an additional amount to savings or investments, you can direct it to perhaps the Roth, because then what's hitting your Roth is only taxed at the 22% bracket. I think this is really the point where we all have to admit the tax planning is kind of fun and a bit of a game. The whole goal here is to avoid paying taxes at your highest possible rate while simultaneously setting money aside into an account where it can grow completely tax-free. And there's actually a name for this strategy. It's called tax bracket arbitrage. I also want to take a moment to talk about a common concern right here. When we talk about Roth accounts, there are different types. When we specifically talk about a Roth IRA, those accounts do have income limits. And once your income exceeds a certain threshold, you can no longer directly contribute to a Roth IRA. However, when we talk about a Roth 401k or the Roth TSP or account type like that, those accounts don't have income limits. So you can absolutely be a high income earner and contribute to those Roth accounts directly. So early in this phase, let's say an income of $100,000 to $130,000, you're often in that in-between zone where a blend or contributing to both accounts can make a lot of sense. But as the income continues to increase, maybe to 150, 170, 190, well, now you're finding yourself firmly in higher tax brackets. At this point, the strategy shifts more traditional heavy. Maybe you're solely contributing to a traditional at this point, because this is very likely the highest tax rates you're ever going to face in your life. So why aggressively funnel money into a Roth if you're paying taxes at a rate of 24% or 32%? This is the point where that tax deduction becomes incredibly valuable. But just as with everything in life, this phase doesn't last forever. Eventually, income starts to come back down, and then our strategy shifts again. Now let's move forward. Our investor is in their early 60s, and let's say they decide to slow down a little bit. They're still working, but they want a slower pace. They're no longer working 60-hour work weeks. Maybe they step into a consulting role. Maybe they just say, hey, I don't need to push as hard anymore. And with that shift, we start to see income come down from 190 to 140, maybe to 110, maybe lower. All depends on what this individual is looking for. We're looking at this as sort of a glide into retirement though. But this does give us a very powerful window, financially speaking, because think about what's happening at the very same time. Their income is now lower than it's been in years. They're not yet collecting Social Security, and they're nowhere near RMD age. So for the first time in decades, they have control over their tax brackets again. And And this could be a wonderful opportunity to do some Roth conversions if this soon-to-be retiree would like to do that. But it depends on their account balances whether or not this is even a necessary step. But as our income starts to come down, we have the opportunity to intentionally create income through these Roth conversions if that's something our retiree wants to do. When you move money from a traditional to a Roth, it is taxed as ordinary income in the year of the conversion. So our retiree or soon-to-be retiree could convert up to a certain threshold. In that way, you're really getting control over your income. And a reason this soon-to-be retiree might want to do this is if they're looking at that traditional balance and it seems rather robust and they're thinking, hey, this isn't a problem now, but it might be down the road. So if they convert more to the Roth, then they wouldn't have to face as robust RMDs. Now we move into retirement, and this is where everything we've done finally starts to matter, because now your income is no longer coming from a paycheck. It's coming from Social Security. It's coming from your portfolio, and eventually it will be coming from RMDs. And here's where we see the difference between someone who planned and someone who didn't. Because someone who simply funneled everything into a traditional bucket has just one option. Whereas someone who used multiple buckets, they have multiple options and they have more control over their income. The focus of this video has been on building up a Roth and building up a traditional, but I do want to say, of course, I'm an advocate for also having a traditional brokerage account in the mix along the way. In retirement, you want maximum control, and you can have maximum control if you have all account types, if you have a taxable account, if you have a traditional account, and if you have a Roth account. And now you essentially get to design your tax situation for the rest of your life. Do you need more income this year? Maybe you pull from the traditional or you pull from your taxable bucket. Do you need to stay in a lower income bracket? Well, then you lean into your Roth. Trying to avoid a Medicare surcharge, you can manipulate where your income comes from. And this is why tax diversification is so powerful. It gives you control. It gives you control over your tax brackets, over your IRMA thresholds, over how much of your Social Security is taxed. And that is why flexibility is so valuable in retirement. If we step back and look at this entire journey, this individual didn't just save money on taxes, they were strategic about when they paid them. They paid taxes when rates were lower. They funded their Roth early. They avoided taxes when rates were higher. They funded a traditional in their peak earning years. They blended strategically when it mattered most. During that mid-career, they did a split, and then chose when to pay taxes later, potentially through Roth conversions. And all of those moves over the past 4 decades accumulate into the ultimate flexibility in retirement. And I want to say this because this is important. This is not a perfect roadmap. This is just one example scenario. I'm not trying to say that everyone should go from a Roth to a traditional and back to a Roth again. It depends on your situation. It depends on what your income looks like. So you want to tilt your contributions to the appropriate account depending on your bracket. Roth accounts are wonderful. Traditional accounts, they're wonderful too. What you're doing here is deciding when you pay taxes. Because over the course of your lifetime, you're going to pay taxes. So why not choose to pay them when your rates are lower? Now, I want to simplify this as much as possible, because this decision really comes down to 3 situations. And once you understand those 3 situations, it's pretty easy to make your decisions. Number 1, very low income years. Go mostly or fully Roth. There is no reason to defer taxes at 10 or 12%. Number 2, very high income years, those top brackets. Lean heavily into the traditional. Deferring taxes when you're paying rates at 32% or 37% can be incredibly valuable. And number 3, everything in between? Well, this is where you can form a strategy. Maybe you decide to blend the 2. You can contribute to a traditional to bring your income down from the higher brackets, and then contribute to a Roth to fill up the lower bracket. Now let's bring this to life for a second, because everything we've talked about sounds great in theory. But what does it actually look like over time? Well, let's go back to our same investor. They're doing something very simple. They're saving just 5% of their income. We're intentionally using a modest savings rate and earning an 8% rate of return. What might their Roth account and their traditional account grow to over time if they started investing at the age of 25 all the way until the age of 60 when they're potentially considering Roth conversions? We're going to follow the exact strategy we just walked through. Roth early, blending in the middle, and traditional in the peak years. Quick note right here at the top, we're ignoring any potential employer matching contributions and we're ignoring taxes. So we're not looking at pre or post-tax dollars. We're intentionally trying to keep this example simple. We're illustrating a concept, not focusing on an exact dollar amount. By the age of 60, they've built a portfolio of $900,000. But this is the important part. What does the structure of this portfolio look like? Well, they have over $500,000 in the Roth and just under $400,000 in the traditional. And I want to pause on these numbers for a second because those are pretty impressive balances. I only had this investor saving 5% of their income. They didn't do anything extreme. They didn't max out their accounts. And yet they still ended up with over $500,000 of tax-free money in a Roth account and a portfolio just shy of $1 million. And again, keep in mind, this is their portfolio at the age of 60. I'm intentionally pausing here just in case this individual wants to do any Roth conversions. This portfolio still has a lot of room for growth as we continue down the road. If our investor stopped contributing anything to both of these accounts, what would happen in another 5 years' time? So by the time they're 65, if we continue to assume that they capture an 8% rate of return, that Roth might grow to just about $750,000, and that traditional might grow to about $580,000, ultimately giving us a portfolio of over $1.3 million. And because this traditional account still has such a long runway for growth, this is why we might want to consider some Roth conversions. But it's nice to see that we're going into retirement with a good mix of accounts. So we're not staring at a glaring tax problem. So this individual can convert gradually. They don't have to make these massive sweeping moves. They can control their tax bracket year by year. The whole lifetime goal here is to build the most tax efficient balance possible for our later years of life. On the other hand, if this individual had done 100% traditional throughout the course of their entire career, by the age of 60, they would have had over $900,000 in this traditional account. And we still would have a long runway before RMDs kick in. So you can see how this portfolio could still multiply several times over and then eventually create very real RMD problems. This retiree would lose control over when and how they take income. So by having a hybrid strategy, we gave our investor choice and control. When you step back and look at this, the decisions you make early, in the middle, and at the end of your career are what ultimately shape your retirement. Roth early, traditional in the peak, and intentional moves later on. None of these moves happen in isolation. They all interact together. And if you are intentional with your planning throughout the course of your entire career, you'll find that once you get to retirement, you have a lot of flexibility. And that flexibility is important. So what are your thoughts on this path throughout a course of a career? Did you give consideration to doing a traditional and a Roth as time went on? Or are you in those years where you're approaching retirement and you're vastly in a traditional account or mostly in a traditional account? I'd love to hear your experience and what you've learned along the way. Post it in a comment down below. I post new videos every single week. If you got anything at all out of this one, please give it a like. If you're new here, please consider subscribing. Or if you know of someone who might get something out of this type of content, please consider sharing. I'll see you soon. Bye. And I think this is the point where we all have to admit that tax planning is kind of fun and it can be a game. It's hard to even say it with a straight face, but so much fun. Those accounts do have income limits where eventually we see our income start to Oh my goodness, I'm sorry. We were sick for like 4 weeks in this household, and I think we're getting sick again. It's the worst. That's like a 12th of the year to be sick. That's awful. I told my brother that we were sick, my son and I, and he said, "How are you sick? You're the health nut," which is fair. You need to go sit in the sauna. Now it's coming from your portfolio. Why can't I say portfolio today? I've said it millions of times, I swear.